welcome again to the Real Collective Podcast, the show where Sean and I talk about things. That's right, you heard it here first, possibly second. Anyway, I'm Brendan McKeigan. With me, as always, is Sean Tasse. Sean, how are you, buddy?
Well, thank you. Well slept. I slept for
Nice.
6 hours straight last night, which is a real win.
Yeah? Was that was that your sleep test?
It was, yes, yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. The good old sleep test.
Maybe some electrode pieces or some glue left in my hair. I did.
Yeah, yeah. That's I like that they give you questions afterwards, like, how was your sleep? How good do you think it was?
Compared to your sleep that you normally get. How
Yeah.
this
Was this better or worse? Way worse.
hospital bed sleep versus your own mattress, pillow, and sheets?
Yeah.
Take more.
Okay, so instead of a pillow, what we have is this soft paper cut. So we're gonna give that to you to sleep on. Brutal. Brutal.
It's like
Well,
slight open. Yeah. So
I'm glad that you got 6 hours straight of sleep. So good for you.
look at the bright side, right?
Yeah, right. We thought we'd dive into it a little bit today. And before we do that, please like, subscribe, and share the channel. That would be wonderful. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you so much. And keep downloading away. We thought we would do something that is outside of the regular realm of just helping first-time home buyers buy a home, but it's kind of helping first-time home buyers buy a home. And we're not talking about get a pre-approval, make sure you have a home inspection, like all the things that we've covered 1,000 times. What we're talking about now is things to keep in mind when you're actually shopping for or living in and buying your first home. So some of the things that maybe get overlooked, because a first home, you're generally there for 5 years. Maybe you're there more, but 5 to 7 years or so. And you got to think, what are you going to do within that 5 to 7 years to make sure that you come out on top? So we thought we'd cover a little bit about that today.
Yeah. Yeah. Things. It's a little bit different, but kind of the same.
Yeah, but I feel like we're not just talking about make sure you get a home inspection and make sure that you look at the attic. It's more just like, okay, you've already done all of these things. You're still going through with the purchase of the home. What are you kind of looking at that's going to make you successful as a first-time home buyer?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing, obviously, maybe that's a little bit too obvious, is your location and lifestyle. If that's something that is true to you, it's going to be true to another first-time home buyer down the line. So when you're looking at what kind of lifestyle you lead and what kind of location you're in, generally speaking, you have a neighborhood has like a neighborhood vibe to it. And are you finding something in there that's going to suit your needs and suit someone else's needs in the future? As much as you don't want to think about the other person too much, it is something you have to keep in mind because, like I said, you're going to be moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's obviously different neighborhoods give different lifestyles, right? If you're living in the core in the downtown area, walkability is important. Sometimes parking might not even exist, right? If you're in a condo, what does that look like? If you're in the suburbs, what does that look like? If you're in, in the country, that's a totally different lifestyle, right? It has to do with what you're driving, how you're commuting, where you're going to go out. Whether you're going to the gas station or you're going to the restaurants or you're going to wherever. What does that look like for you? And a lot of it is like, are you taking really good advantage of the neighborhood that you're in? Because there's a lot of really cool local businesses that you can likely support in and around where you're at, which of course supports local businesses, which is a great thing. But then it also makes your life easier, right? If you've moved to a different part of town, you're like, oh, I really love this restaurant that's all the way on the other side of town. You got to drive there to get there. It's probably not the greatest solution. Where, if you can really centralize your life and find, the dog groomer that's close by, the flower shop that's close by, and in those instances, a lot of the times you're supporting small local businesses, which obviously is great. So, as much as you can be in your location and stick close to where you're living, I think it's better.
I think so. Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's always been a little bit important to have something within walking distance of the house. Sometimes, like before, it was I want to be able to walk to a neighborhood bar or a pub or a restaurant, whatever. I just want to be able to go out and enjoy patio as a family.
Stumble. Oh, okay. As a family, not maybe.
Stumble as a family. Too many wobbly pops, and I do like a walk like a 1.5 year old. Uh, no, I'm just, it's nice to be able to take the kids in the stroller and walk over to a restaurant on a summer day, have a nice little lunch on the patio. I like that kind of stuff. Um, that might not be important to somebody else. They might say, I don't need any of that. I'm in the downtown core. I have a dog. I need to live really close to a dog park. Maybe that's your jam. So whatever that is, obviously you know yourself and what you're into. So find that for yourself. And maybe that means exploring 3 homes in each neighborhood to see which neighborhood clicks before you before you narrow it down to which neighborhood might be the best fit for you. Because yes, there's like a Westboro, there's Centertown, and then whatever Golden Triangle, and they're all kind of lined up, and you maybe, I don't know which one I want to live in. Well, then let's see 3 places in each, and more about getting a sense for the home, but also the neighborhood and what's around.
Yeah, maybe spend like a Saturday or Sunday, walking around the neighborhood and
Yeah,
checking and walking up and down the main street. I mean, you go in and talk to the shop owners, right? Or talk to the employees who are working in there and get that vibe. Be like, okay, is this, do the people who are in this zone, are they my people?
yeah,
You'll you'll feel a lot more happy about. Maybe you end up buying a house that you don't really like, but it's in a neighborhood that you really like, and you can kind of get over the fact that you don't like the house because you can make the house better, right? But the neighborhood's going to be what it is. That
yeah.
look, that lifestyle, you can't really change that, right?
No. So, yeah, maybe you rent a motorhome and sleep on the street somewhere to try out what it's like to sleep in each neighborhood, or a U-Haul with an air mattress in the back. I don't know.
You know,
But like you said, I think that moves in nicely to the next one. Is you have to be thinking about your long-term planning. Like, what are you going to be doing in 5 to 7 years, and is that going to be the same for you? And what's that look like?
yeah, yeah. A lot of people buy their first house, and that is it, right? They've got this idea. Some people say, "Oh, I'm going to be here for 3 years or 5 years." A lot of times, people say 5 years because that's how long the mortgage is, and then they wind up. That was the same with us, right? We wound up there for 10. But yeah, what work can you do that's going to add the most value to your home? For example, that our first house that we bought, the basement was unfinished. Well, the biggest value add that we made in our house is we finished the basement, added a bedroom in the basement, and put a bathroom in down there, right? Like that's the biggest value add that we did without spending a lot of money. We took out some of the carpets, and we did some backsplash and all of that sort of thing. But the major one, of course, was the basement. And of course, deck and outside sort of stuff. But yeah, understanding what you're doing in your house that's okay, going to take care of you and your family, and it's giving you the kind of place that you want to live, but at the same time thinking, hey, what was the comment you made? I don't want to put in tiles in this house that are like,
Oh, like Moroccan tiles.
right.
Some people like, don't get me wrong, if you like Moroccan tiles, that's fantastic. And I think they look nice too. Will they still look nice and stylish in 5 to 7 years? I always think of like that sponge paint from TLC, the Trading Spaces show, where they would decorate someone's room in the house like, this is a sponge paint technique. And then you had people in 1998 that were all like, yeah, let's paint with a sponge, this will never look bad. And then you're like, it looks like a child did this. So
Well,
you got to keep that kind of stuff in mind, I think, when you're renovating.
yeah, man, absolutely. And yes, do it for yourself. It's your house. But just know that if you do choose to sell, and each wall in each room is a different color, like it was in our house, you're going to have to go back through and paint every wall in every room back to a boring neutral color. And that's fine, right? Like we had honestly every room in our house, our first house was a different color. And then when it was time to sell, we had to repaint it. Um, but we liked it. It was cool, right? The Moroccan tiles might be great, but it also means when you're thinking about long term and you're doing that long term planning like we're talking about, you might put yourself in a position where if you don't change the tiles out, you might have a hard time selling or selling for top dollar. Right? That's all.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now is, we're seeing a lot of first time home buyers that really can't just buy that move in ready house. And if you can, fantastic. But with the way that home prices are now, even after the price drop that we've seen since, the fall of last year, having that in your head that like we're going to have to do some renovations to make this worth more so that we get more bang for our buck at the end of the day. And maybe that's something that you have to keep in mind. And maybe it is something that is simple renovations, like it's amazing what a coat of paint will do, or just getting cupboards refinished, like that kind of stuff. Like if whatever you can do or whatever you have planned, and if you want to just keep that home, and maybe your plan is to keep that home the way that it is, take the equity out to buy your second home and rent out your first home. Boom, bang. Now you have an income property and you're a landlord. It's the easiest thing in the world.
I was absolutely blown away by the change that light fixtures make.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's not a hard thing to change, or it's not an expensive change to make. I mean, it's $200-300 for a light fixture, but it really can change the overall look of a whole room. And yeah, of course, we always talk about paint, we talk about cleanliness, but a lot of people really focus on the big ticket items, like do a whole kitchen reno or a whole bathroom reno. Just changing a light fixture or two really makes a big difference in a room.
Yeah.
Same with window coverings, right? Just changing out window coverings. They're a little bit more expensive, but yeah, light fixtures I feel like are the least expensive, one of the least expensive ways to have a big impact on how a room looks.
Yeah. One of the other changes you can do is a change of pace, and we're going to do that right now with a quick break. And these segues are getting better by the episode. So we're going to take a look at one of the videos we've recently done. So take a look at that, like, subscribe, and share the channel. And we will be right back here on the Real Collective podcast.
One of the things that people have been asking about recently, especially as the market starts to heat up for the springtime, is mortgage advice, specifically a purchase plus improvements mortgage. So what? If you are buying a house and that house needs some repairs and renovations that make it just a little bit out of reach for you, you can actually do those repairs and renovations and add the cost of them onto your mortgage up to a certain amount based on your ability to obtain financing, et cetera, et cetera. But if you've got $30,000 that can significantly improve the quality of your home, whether it's in your kitchen, in the basement, whatever it is, sometimes you can get that money lent to you directly from the bank and added to your mortgage, so you don't have to just go out and do it by yourself. Now what? Pick up the phone, give us a call your trusted mortgage broker, and as always, reach out 1-888-REAL-585, and until then, keep it real, Collective.
Welcome back to the second half, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around here. We're talking about things to keep in mind as a first-time home buyer, outside of the obvious things like pre-approvals, home inspections, and what to put in an offer. We're talking more about, in the first half, your location, your lifestyle, your long-term planning, like getting something that you can fix up a little bit and hopefully turn a little bit of a profit on. And that kind of leads us into the next part of what we're talking about, which is affordability. Obviously, you want to get something that's going to be within your price range, because there's a difference between, we've said it before, what you can afford and what the bank gives you. So there is that to keep in mind, absolutely. But then with mortgage rates changing the way they have, we've seen some people have to sell because their mortgage just almost doubled, and all of a sudden they're kind of stuck. So things to keep in mind there are the affordability of it. And I think we're getting back to a little bit less chaotic as far as mortgage rates go and home prices go. I think we're kind of leveling out to be a little bit more in tune with what Ottawa was doing kind of pre-COVID, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, but just like, here's where we were pre-COVID, here's where we were during COVID, like off the screen, right?
Yeah.
Here's where we are now. And so essentially we've just taken that jump, and now we're going to follow the same seasonality. That's sort of what it seems like.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting into the I'm gonna say like typical spring market. So we might see a more typical seasonality, like you said. There might be that slow spot in August when people are on vacation or getting ready for school. Might be a thing. Only time will tell. But that leads us, to the affordability, is making sure that, like, are you spending more on this house than what you're going to get back in 5 to 7 years? Because some people right now are still in their minds that homes are worth 200,000 more than they are, because maybe a year and a half ago or even a year ago they were, depending on the home.
I look at it in terms of like, can I afford the monthly payments on it? And a lot of the times, especially, we're not really talking about first time home buyers. We're kind of talking about first time home owners right now. And it's like, okay, well, while you're living in that house, it's really expensive because you've got all of these sort of phantom costs that you didn't know about. And you're like, oh yeah, now, and you're telling me, dude, go and buy like a light fixture, like, and you're telling me to go and eat out at all the local restaurants instead of like
Yeah.
spend $30 on a meal instead of going to, pizza for, $15 for a whole pie or whatever. Right. So affordability, like, you almost change your lifestyle a little bit. Like I found when I bought my first house, I used to go for breakfast on the regular. And then it's like, nope, I'm eating breakfast at home. Like it's making my own coffee, 50 cents for a coffee as opposed to $2 for a coffee. And that adds up every day. Right. So you make those sort of little changes in your lifestyle, and to make sure that you have your affordability, right? Because there's going to be, and we'll talk about this in a minute, there's going to be things that come up with regards to maintenance. There's going to be things that come up with, in terms of just typical homeowner stuff, home ownership stuff, right?
Yeah.
So having that affordability where you're like, yeah, I'm living well within my means and I feel comfortable, is super important. As much as you can, peel back on those subscriptions that you signed up for the free month, and then you never actually canceled that subscription and it's just rolling through on your credit card.
Yeah.
Maybe cancel that.
Well, that's it. And like subscriptions really add up when they're all $10 or so each. And then you're paying for, Disney, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever, NBC Prime, all of them. They all add up. And if there was something IPTV that you could get that was a little bit more affordable IPTV, then maybe that's a better way to go. Or maybe you don't watch TV as much anymore. Look at that. You just don't. You just go out and enjoy your location and lifestyle. Boom, call back, get paid. Yeah, and I do think on that too. Pardon the pun, but like you can get that first hydro bill, and it's a bit shocking to see. Like, oh my god, that's what hydro is. But that's why I said pardon the pun. I didn't want it to be like that was on purpose. But like you look at it like, oh my god, like I did not think hydro was that much. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, hydro is going to be like whatever, 40, $50 a month. And they're like 150. Your bills have tripled like every month. So that's a big shocker to see. There it is again. That one was done on purpose because of the face you made. So that's your fault. But keeping that in mind, keeping like your hydro bills, just all the bills that you said are hidden. And we are going to get into maintenance later on. Spoiler alert. But talking about that, I know. But I think just having that and saying like, I need to make sure that I have enough covered for all of the bills that happen each month. And that includes like maybe you're getting a new car because you moved into a place that actually has a driveway or a parking spot. And that's going to be something you do, right? So insurance, gas, all that kind of stuff. So just, we don't want to see a house broke and have to sell it because you need to move back into like a smaller place or further outside the city for something that's way less money and makes you not as happy.
Yeah, you want to, and here's the next segue. You want to have something that's going to be appreciating over the term, right? You want to make sure that what you're looking at has that potential to be increasing in price, and some of that does come down to the location, but then some of it comes down to, like we talked about, long-term planning and buying in the right place that's sort of on the come up. That's where you need people like us that can say, hey, this is a good neighborhood. It will do better than the average. But when you look at the overall city of Ottawa, we're I mean, the last couple of years have been insane, but we're an average 6% per year increase in terms of value. So as much as you can, hang on to your house and ride that home ownership wave. It's tight, it's tough for sure, but once you get on that, and that's why they always say, like, once you get on the ladder, right, your house sort of turns into a bit of a piggy bank. Like credit cards, oh yeah, you want credit card? Here you go. Here's a credit card. Here's a credit. Like people just want to give you money, right? Because you're sitting in a house and they know that that house is going up in value. There is that appreciation potential. It's like a unlocking a next level in life. It's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
adulting at this level. Here you go. You get more of this stuff, more money.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's so easy to be like, yeah, okay, sure. And then you're like, oh, I should have done that. Like now I'm at the point where they're almost like, do you want a briefcase of money for your credit card? I'm like, oh, why would I want that? No, I don't. Stop asking me. But they have to. They're a bank. That's just what they do. And then I think rounding things off after appreciation potential, obviously we want to talk about that to make sure that you get bang for your buck, and that ties into what your plan is for renovations and everything else. Maintenance, just regular old maintenance. It can add up on a home. There's stuff that you got to do. Sometimes it's like harging around a house. You don't think about that as much. And it's like, it's the unseen stuff. It's the unseen and unappreciated. Like nobody comes in your house like, oh, wow, did you get new insulation? you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, you know what? People always say, "Oh, I can go and spend, whatever, $30,000 on windows, or I can go and spend $30,000 and make my kitchen look brand new." Well, your $30,000 is going to go a lot further on making your kitchen look brand new, and nobody's going to pay $30,000 more for your house because you have brand new windows. They might pay $30,000 more for your kitchen, but at some point you're going to have to do the windows, right? So having, that slush fund in terms of, when there's a callback to affordability, right, is having, not living at your full extent and having that slush fund available that you can go back to and draw on, is going to be really important for the maintenance things that sort of jump up and you might not have been totally ready for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, keeping in mind too, I mean, most people, when they're buying their first home, maybe they were in a condo before. So maybe they bought a condo, and now they're moving into a freehold. Stuff like a furnace, like changing your furnace filter. The amount of times I go to a house and you pull out the furnace filter and it's black and covered. It looks like you just dried a comforter in there and you're just, you know what I mean? Like when you pull the lint trap out and it's just caked on, and that will really increase your energy bills. Like that's something to keep in mind. You should be doing it every 2-3 months, sometimes every month. But like those little things that I think most people as a first time homeowner are like, oh, I just thought the furnace was just being a furnace. Like you just do the thing. And you're like, okay,
Well,
good
and
for you.
that's it. And it's you get used to it as you do it more and more. But it's like, every 3-4 years you'll have to go around and do like the caulking and the sealing of the house again. And all of that is helpful in terms of your long-term holding the heat in the house and all that sort of thing. But definitely having a bit of a slush fund to cover off some of that maintenance, and knowing that um, pride in home ownership, this is a callback to appreciation potential. Pride in home ownership will help your house sell for more when it's time to resell it. If you let everything go and you're just like running ramshackle all over your house, it's not gonna sell for as much as if someone can come in and look like, oh wow, like these people really took care of their house. That shows. That really does show. So taking care of the maintenance stuff, when you do your inspector will give you a list of maintenance things to do sort of quarterly to ensure that your house is running smoothly. So yeah, it's super important as you are going through the process of being a first time homeowner.
Yeah. Yeah. And even stuff like the maintenance of just like covering the top of your central air unit, like that kind of stuff, just making sure that it's not going to cost you money in the long run by staying on top of it. You can think of it as like house chores. I don't know, whatever's going to make it easier for you. But other stuff too, like sealing a driveway. It's not the most expensive to seal a driveway because some of them come with the gun and they just do it. Repaving it obviously costs a lot more. But if they're just going to seal it because you got some cracks in it, that just makes it look shiny and new a little bit, It's a bit of a lipstick on a pig scenario, let's be honest, but it does make it look a little better and makes it seem like, okay, they're taking care of the driveway. They're probably taking care of the house. I don't expect them to pave the driveway because, again, that's one of those things like, why repave the driveway when you could redo 2 bathrooms or redo a bathroom in the house instead?
Right. It all comes down to how it looks, and when it's time to sell, people unfortunately care more about the pretty than they do about the maintenance stuff. Not to say to overlook it completely, because it is still, like I said, it is still valuable, but
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I think if you do want to talk to us more about what kind of maintenance to expect in a home or any of these things, maybe we missed some, put them in the comments below. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Absolutely. Please let us know. And if you want to talk more about it, our Calendly links are below, so you can book an appointment there to talk with Sean or I about anything that you've seen today, or anything going on in your life. I'd love to know what level of soccer your kids play. I don't know. Let's just talk, everybody. Let's just talk. We are going to wrap things up here on the Real Collective podcast. Thank you so much. Sean has something to say, and you can tell because he does this thing where he's... Go ahead, Sean.
Keep your eyes peeled for the next couple podcasts. We've got some really good guests coming up. One works for a local cabinet installation company. Another is a local investor focused client of ours who's going to talk about what we should be expecting over the course of the year in terms of what investors are specifically looking at, that things that are happening in Ottawa that might have an effect on the market as a whole. Things that are happening to really large groups of people who live here in Ottawa, and the potential effects there. So keep your eyes peeled over the next 2 weeks because we've got some cool guests coming up.
Perfect. Now let's get back to the closing ceremony. This is the Real Collective podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share the channel on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, keep it real.
Collective.